This podcast was produced using artificial intelligence and refined by human editors.
And we're back. Welcome, Globetrotters and City Slickers alike, to another episode of Travel with Lara and Luca.
The show where wanderlust meets a guidebook and both take a back seat to our chatty escapades. Today's episode is all about the shimmering jewel of the desert, Dubai.
The land where traditional dhow boats float on the same waters as mega yachts, where skyscrapers stretch to tickle the belly of the sky.
Ah, Dubai. It's the only place where you can sunbathe, ski, and shop for gold all in one day. And we're here to share it all, minus the sunburn.
Remember that time, Lara, when you tried to explain Dubai to someone, and all you could say was, "Imagine if Vegas and Blade Runner had a baby."
Guilty as charged. But let's not forget your description. It's like someone took a rich kid's wish list and built it.
Point taken. Now, before we dive into our podcast oasis, let's give our listeners a taste of what's coming up.
We're waltzing past the Burj Khalifa, popping into the spice-laden air of Souks, and uncovering the stories that make this city a tapestry of tales.
And we'll throw in some weird facts, because who doesn't like discovering Dubai has an indoor ski resort? But first things first, let's set the scene.
Imagine stepping out from the cool breath of an air-conditioned building into the embrace of the warm Arabian air, the skyline, a futuristic chessboard with the king being none other than
the Burj Khalifa. Speaking of which, I still think I should have won that selfie competition.
Luca, it wasn't a competition, but you did look dashing with the sun haloing your head 1,000 feet above the ground.
That's the charm of Dubai. It makes you ambitious. Now, Lara, what was it that really captivated you the first time you set foot here?
The heartbeat of the city. It's vibrant and filled with a symphony of languages. Everywhere you look, it's a dance of culture, fashion, and gastronomy.
And let's not forget the warmth of the people. Speaking of which, shouldn't we share our personal Dubai encounters? Care to kick things off?
Oh, absolutely. I remember wandering the Al Fahidi Historic District, entranced by the wind towers, and then being invited to share coffee and dates with a local artist. It was there that I learned the true meaning of hospitality.
That's Dubai for you. A city that tickles every sense, including your sense of wonder. I recall my own serendipitous adventure, sailing along the coast, marveling at how the city has mastered the art of blending the old with the spectacular new.
It's that juxtaposition that keeps bringing people back. You're as likely to find an authentic Emirati meal as you are a 5-star molecular gastronomy experience.
That leads us beautifully to what's next on our voyage through Dubai, the segment where we talk about iconic sites.
Oh, that's going to be as grand as the entrance to Atlantis. Now strap on your virtual seatbelts, listeners. In our next segment, we're about to whisk you away on a whirlwind tour of Dubai's most iconic landmarks.
Will we tell them about that time you tried to hug the Burj Khalifa?
Only if you fess up about confusing a sheikh for a valet. But that's a story for our next segment.
And here we are, at the heart of all that glitters and gleams in Dubai, the iconic sights of this desert metropolis.
You know, Luca, standing at the foot of the Burj Khalifa, I can't help but get that neck crick as I try to see the top. It's like it's touching the sky.
Oh, absolutely, Lara. You know it's so tall. I heard a rumor you can watch the sunset at the base, take a quick ride to the top, and catch it setting all over again.
I wouldn't be surprised. And what floors me every time is the elevator speed. It's like being shot up in a well-dressed rocket.
Well-dressed, indeed. Given that my ears popped twice on the way up last time, I swear, if the Burj Khalifa were a person, it would be that tall, mysterious stranger at a party that everyone is intrigued by but slightly afraid to approach.
Oh, no doubt. It's got that look but don't touch vibe. Speaking of which, remember that time you thought you'd leaned against a glass wall and it was actually just open air?
Let's not give our listeners vertigo. Instead, let's talk about vertiginous shopping experiences, the Dubai Mall, for instance.
You could fit more than 50 football fields in there, Luca. I once walked so much, I think my shoes waved a white flag.
Yes, and if your shoes give up, there's always a cab to catch inside the mall. Talk about convenience.
They say retail therapy is a cure for all, but in Dubai Mall, it's more like an exhilarating quest, complete with an ice rink and a full-size dinosaur skeleton.
And then there's something quite surreal about watching the Dubai fountain dance, with the music swelling and water synchronizing like liquid fireworks.
Oh, I feel as if the water is telling a story. Each performance is unique, isn't it?
Absolutely. I'll admit, I tried to serenade you there, but the fountain was a tough act to follow.
Ah, the attempt was valiant, though. But let's sail away from the fountain to an island that's the pinnacle of human ambition, Palm Jumeirah.
You know, Lara, with my sense of direction, I'd probably get lost on one of its fronds and end up accidentally gate-crashing a celebrity party.
That's not the worst thing, especially if you bring snacks. But in all seriousness, when you look at Palm Jumeirah from above, it's like a piece of world-class art.
I once tried to capture the entire island in a photo. Let's say panoramic shots became my best friend.
And then, of course, the Atlantis, the Palm Resort. Isn't that place something else? They have that water park where one slide shoots you through a shark tank.
Yes, the moment when you realize you're having an adrenaline rush while being casually eyed by sharks. Dubai in a nutshell, wouldn't you say?
Perfectly said. From soaring heights to deep waters, this city certainly knows how to keep your heart rate up.
And while we're on the subject of heart racing, we can't leave out the next course, cuisine. Dubai's food scene, after all, is as thrilling as any roller coaster ride at Atlantis.
Absolutely, the tales of Dubai's culinary adventures are up next. But before we get carried away on a gustatory tide, let's have one final glance at these iconic sights under the shimmering lights of the city.
Then let's give our tummies a moment to rumble in anticipation. Coming up, we're taking a culinary journey. You won't want to miss this mouth-watering chat about Dubai's taste sensations.
That's a wrap on iconic sights, but don't go away. There's more from Travel with Lara and Luca after this short break. All right, diving into the delectable subject of Dubai cuisine, where the flavors are as extravagant as the city itself.
Yes, and you really can't talk about Dubai without mentioning food. It's a melting pot of cultures, and that's reflected on the plate. Or should I say, plates.
And we're starting with street food. I mean, who can resist the allure of shawarma stands dotting the cityscape?
Not I, Lara, not I. Those succulent slices of meat, the fresh veggies, the garlic sauce.
People, if you haven't tried shawarma in Dubai, you haven't fully experienced the city.
But let's not overlook the gourmet experiences. High dining in Dubai is an art form.
The kind of art that explodes in your mouth with every bite. Places where celebrity chefs serve gold-dusted treats.
True, though admittedly, I feel a sneaky satisfaction in beating the high-end dining with my love for shawarma. High-quality food doesn't always need a white tablecloth.
It's the eternal battle, Luca. Street food versus fine dining. I say why choose when you can have both?
Agreed, which elegantly brings us to local delicacies. Manikish is like the pizza of the Middle East, and it's divine.
A warm bread topped with thyme, cheese, or ground meat. And don't get me started on lukaimat, those little dough balls of sweetness.
There was that time I tried to make lukaimat at home, remember? I ended up with a kitchen that looked like a sticky bomb had exploded.
I do remember. That's why I leave it to the pros and soak up every last drop of syrup from those delightful dough balls when in Dubai.
Lara, we can't forget the king of all feasts, the stuffed camel.
Only in Dubai would a stuffed camel be a thing. It is literally one of the largest dishes in the world.
Now, you're not likely to find it on your average menu, but it does epitomize the grandeur of its culinary scene.
And for those with a sweet tooth like mine, let's talk about Ali. It's like a warmer, richer, more buttery bread pudding.
And you know how much I love baklava. I admire how layers of phyllo pastry can be so simple, yet so complex.
I still smile thinking about your baklava marathon. What was it? 7 different variations in one afternoon.
Still one of my proudest moments, Lara. But remember, Dubai's culinary wonders aren't limited to its local flavors.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a hotspot for foodies craving global tastes, from Peruvian ceviche to Japanese sushi.
And the Italian cuisine. Remember that spicy pasta dish that nearly blew my head off?
How could I forget? You went for the chef's special surprise heat, and surprised you were indeed.
It's not the heat I expected. It was a culinary firestorm. Lesson learned. In Dubai, when they say hot, they mean interstellar hot.
Speaking of lessons, what's next on our agenda after we've satisfied our appetite for Dubai's delicious cuisine?
We'll be uncovering some of Dubai's best-kept secrets in our next segment. Think hidden alleyways and exclusive hotspots.
Ooh, and I've got some seriously cool undiscovered spots I'm itching to talk about. But first, we have to wrap up our food chat.
Indeed. So, if you're heading to Dubai, come hungry and be prepared to indulge in a city that offers a feast for all senses.
It's a voyage through flavors and aromas that you won't forget. As for now, let's conclude our delicious journey and set the stage for the mysterious avenues of Dubai's hidden gems.
That's right. Stay with us to peek behind the curtain of the city and discover the treasures tucked away from the usual tourist trails.
Discovering these gems requires a bit of curiosity, but fear not, we'll be guiding you every step of the way.
Until then, remember to savor every bite of Dubai, from shawarma to stuffed camel if you're brave enough to try it.
And on that note, let's bid adieu to our culinary excursion.
Join us after this for the hidden and perhaps more enigmatic side of Dubai. Dubai always dazzles with its sky-piercing towers and luxurious malls, but let's journey off the beaten path to discover the city's hidden gems.
Absolutely, Luca. It's like opening a treasure chest, but instead of gold and jewels, we find cultural richness and history. Take, for instance, the winding lanes of Al-Bastakia in Old Dubai.
Al-Bastakia. You stroll through those narrow alleyways and you're instantly teleported to a bygone era, before the skyscrapers, before the bustle of modern life.
That's just it. The air there is thick with stories of pearl divers and merchants. It's where you truly feel the soul of the city. Remember that tiny art gallery we found last time?
How could I forget? Each canvas was a window to someone's Dubai story, so personal yet so universal. And remember the laughter from that little courtyard cafe where we had the most aromatic karak tea?
Oh yes, the karak tea. Heated discussions over cardamom and the soft clink of spoons, just magical. But let's not forget about Al Sirkal Avenue, the beating heart of Dubai's contemporary art scene.
Right in the middle of an industrial area, of all places. Who would have thought that an old marble factory could be transformed into such a vibrant cultural hub?
It's the unexpected surprises that make it a true gem, Luca. The art installations there, they challenge you, provoke you, and even sometimes make you smile.
Yeah, like that time we walked straight into a pop-up performance art piece. I think I was part of the art for a moment there.
You and your sense of timing, always inadvertently becoming the star of the show.
Speaking of shows, remember the hustle and bustle of the Souks? The gold souk is like walking through Aladdin's cave.
It dazzles, and it's impossible not to be charmed by the glitter and gleam. You walk out feeling slightly richer just from the experience.
Plus, there's nothing like the thrill of a good-natured haggle. I think I still have a talent for convincing merchants to part with their treasures for just a few dirhams less.
Not as much as you'd like to believe, Luca, but I can't argue with your enthusiasm. Although, can we talk about the treasures of the spice souk, the riot of colors, the medley of scents? Simply enchanting.
A feast for all senses. Remember that hidden shop where they mix spices for you on demand? I'm still using the special blend we got there.
Me too. And tucked in another corner is that small place that I adore, the one selling handcrafted perfumes. It feels like I've left with a part of Dubai every time.
A perfumed treasure to cherish. Now, for a change of scenery, who would have thought you could find a serene bird sanctuary amidst the glitz?
Ras Al Khor Wildlife Sanctuary. It's like a mirage in the desert, literally. The tranquility, the flamingos, just a stone's throw from the concrete jungle.
Yes, the silent dance of the flamingos. How elegantly they glide through the waters against the improbable backdrop of high rises. It's poetry in motion, Lara.
A feathered ballet with the city's soundtrack turned to a soft murmur. Speaking of unexpected poetry, Luca, what about your kayaking adventures at Hatta?
Now that was an adrenaline-filled poem, if there ever was one. The rugged mountains, the cool water of the dam, Dubai can surprise you with such escapades.
And speaking of surprises, we can't forget about the lesser-known thrill of dune bashing and stargazing just outside the city. The desert has its own nocturnes to perform.
It's like having the best of both worlds, right? The calm of the desert night, and then returning to the city's embrace of lights and sounds.
Indeed. And as our hunt for hidden gems comes to a close, we've seen that Dubai's sparkle is not just in the famed attractions, but also in the corners less traveled.
So true, Lara. These charming discoveries make Dubai a city with endless layers, each waiting to be peeled back and explored.
And speaking of discoveries, dear listeners, our next segment promises to unveil even more of Dubai. We'll delve into the must-see places that you simply can't miss.
From locale-defining landmarks to modern architectural wonders, we'll be your guides to the places that make Dubai, well, Dubai. Stay tuned. And here we are, Lara, ready to embark on a whirlwind tour of Dubai's must-see places. I hope our listeners have their virtual walking shoes on.
Oh, believe me, Luca, they're gonna need them. Let's kick things off with the one and only Burj Al Arab, often called the world's only 7-star hotel, even though that's not an official rating.
Ah yes, the iconic sail-shaped silhouette gracing the Dubai coastline. It's like something out of a maritime fairy tale.
Speaking of fairy tales, I remember walking into their grand atrium for afternoon tea. The colors, the opulence, and do you know they spritz the air with an exclusive fragrance?
Only in Dubai would the air be couture. I've dreamt of bottling it up. Imagine, Eau de Luca, the scent of ultimate luxury.
Ha! From Eau de Luca to the Skyview Bar, what's more luxurious than high tea with an expansive view of the Persian Gulf with a side of gold leaf-topped cappuccinos?
And the fleet of white Rolls Royces lined up outside. I tried to act unfazed, but I'm pretty sure my jaw was on the floor the entire time.
Well, let's pick your jaw up and head over to the Dubai Opera. It's not only about the performances, which are stunning, by the way, but the building itself. It looks like a Tao, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The Dubai Opera is an artistic masterpiece in its own right. I remember squinting at it, trying to make sense of its geometry, and then I walked in. That's when the real magic hit me.
The acoustics. We were there for that incredible rendition of La Traviata, remember? I was half convinced we'd been transported to 19th century Paris.
Yes, and you in that extravagant hat. It was like you were born for opera night.
Oh, stop it. That hat was nothing compared to the yachts we saw later at Dubai Marina, those floating palaces. Do you think they have room service?
Room service, and I would not be surprised if they had butlers for the butlers. Walking along the marina, I thought, well, if I can't have a yacht, at least I can dream while munching on gelato.
Which you ended up wearing more than eating after that seagull incident. But really, that place is electric. The buzz of conversation, aromas from every cuisine imaginable, and those twinkling lights reflecting off the water.
From twinkling lights to a frame of gold, the Dubai frame, where you get that unique juxtaposition of old and new Dubai through the gilded-looking glass.
I felt like I was standing inside a gigantic picture frame, suspended between the past and the future. You step onto the glass walkway and poof, you're a part of the skyline.
Poof, indeed. I still chuckle thinking of those tourists who couldn't bring themselves to step onto the glass. You could have ice skated across it with the sheer amount of sweat on their palms.
And let's not forget the elevator. We zipped up to the top like we were being shot out of a golden cannon, right into the clouds.
That's Dubai for you, always giving that sense of upwards momentum.
But that's not all, dear listeners, because Luca here hasn't even mentioned his skydive over the Palm Jumeirah. Care to relive the adrenaline?
Ah, the Palm Jumeirah, a triumph of human ingenuity and also the closest I've ever been to flying. Jumping out of a plane at 13,000 feet gives you a whole new perspective on the word view.
And here I was thinking the view from at the top in Burj Khalifa couldn't be beat. Speaking of which, Luca, tell us about your vertigo up there.
There's something unnerving about being so high that helicopters look like buzzing insects. Looking down from the 148th floor, I felt like a giant overlooking my sandcastle kingdom.
We should warn our listeners, though, keep a tight grip on your phones. It's quite a drop, and Luca is living proof of that.
Hey, it was a gust of wind, I swear. Luckily, the protective screens were there to save my dignity. And my phone.
Okay, so maybe stay away from the edges if you're clumsy like Luca. But for the rest of you, the Burj Khalifa is a beacon of Dubai's skyline you simply cannot skip.
Well, we've lingered enough on the skies and seas. Let's bring it back down to earth in our next segment. Get ready for some bizarre, wacky, and downright weird facts about Dubai.
And trust me, folks, some of them are so out there you'll think we're pulling your leg. But in Dubai, the extraordinary is just another Tuesday.
Ah, the city of gold. No, not just because of the Souks, Lara, but also because of some truly bonkers facts that are worth their weight in gold. Welcome to the Weird and Wonderful, everyone. Segment 5, Weird Facts About Dubai.
Let's start with a number that always gets me, 163 floors. That's Burj Khalifa for you, Luca. But did you know, if you stacked up all the gold sold in the Dubai Gold Souk in just a year, it could easily cover those 163 floors and beyond?
Speaking of covering things, the total length of the Dubai Metro's red and green lines could wrap around the world islands twice, with some spare tracks to boot.
And here's one. Did you know that at any given time, 20% of the world's cranes are operating in Dubai? I mean, let's crane our necks just to see that skyline soar.
You think that's impressive? Dubai's police fleet includes Aston Martins, Ferraris, and Lamborghinis. Imagine getting pulled over by one of those. Sorry, officer. Was I speeding, or did you just want to race?
Turning to customs now, you must have heard the one about the UAE's Minister of Happiness, right? Yeah, they have an actual minister to ensure the country's mission to be one of the happiest in the world.
And for more happy facts, robots. Camel racing is a huge sport here, but instead of human jockeys, they use robots controlled by trainers. It's like playing a video game, but you're racing a real camel.
Here's another. The Palm Jumeirah Island was made from 7 million tons of rock blasted from the Hajar Mountains. It's so surreal, Luca, but 1 year of nail-biting for marine life and engineers alike, isn't it?
Yes, but now it's home to more than just marine life. Stars. The islands are shaped like a palm tree, but I like to think of it as a Hollywood Walk of Fame, with properties owned by the rich and famous.
You know what else is rich? Dubai uses approximately 39,000 gallons of cologne every month to keep its streets smelling like roses. Literally perfuming streets. Now that's another level of luxe.
Yet even roses have thorns, Lara. You've heard of the Torch Tower, right? As lofty as its name suggests, but it's been struck by lightning not just once, but multiple times. It's like nature goes, hey, too high.
Nature does indeed strike in mysterious ways here. Like how Dubai built a mountain to make it rain more. Okay, they're still thinking about it, but talk about trying to move heaven and earth for some rain clouds.
And you've got to hand it to Dubai. Where else in the world would you find an indoor ski resort with real snow right in the middle of the desert? Ski Dubai is like a winter wonderland with a side of sand.
Or how about the fact that they're planning to tow icebergs from Antarctica to provide fresh water? Icebergs in the desert. I can just imagine the penguins looking confused as their chilly home passes the Burj Al Arab.
Here's a weird one, the Dubai Aquarium. With the largest acrylic panel in the world, it holds more than 10 million liters of water. Maybe those penguins can have a new home after all.
Do you know what 10 million liters of water can also do? Make the Dubai fountain dance. The amount of water they shoot into the air can fill up 13 Olympic-sized swimming pools every minute. Hope you're not thinking of going for a swim there, Luca.
Ha! Would be quite the splash. Hey, we're a city of superlatives, Lara. We have the tallest, the biggest, the fastest, and the emptiest. Like the International City's Dragon Mart, it's the largest Chinese trading hub outside China, but walk in before rush hour, and it's like traversing the Gobi Desert alone.
And traversing Dubai can be bizarre too. You can rent a peacock from the pet market or hire a portable air conditioner the size of a small room. Because who doesn't need a peacock and a personal glacier in this climate?
And speaking of climate, have you heard about cloud seeding? The UAE invests heavily in technology that shoots salt and other substances into clouds to make them rain. It's not just seeding, it's making sure the rainy day fund is well spent.
Absolutely. They're really keen on keeping things green here too. Dubai is home to one of the largest flower gardens in the world, the Dubai Miracle Garden. It blooms in the desert, complete with full-size houses made entirely of flowers.
Now, before we wrap up and move on, did you know the Dubai police once issued a fine every minute for an entire year? Talk about being on the beat.
That's quite some precision, and speaking of precision, that's exactly what you'll need when you delve into Dubai's history. Coming right up in the next segment, we delve deep into the past, unraveling how a modest pearl diving settlement turned into this glittering metropolis.
Ah, the sands of time. Welcome back, listeners. We're digging into the grains of Dubai's history in this segment.
That's right, Luca. From the depths of the Gulf's pearls to the soaring heights of the Burj Khalifa, Dubai's story is as rich as it is rapid.
Let's take it back, Lara, way back. Before all the glitz and glamour, Dubai was a humble fishing settlement, right?
Exactly, centered around the Dubai Creek, it was the lifeline for the people. And then in the early 20th century, it became a significant port of call for foreign tradesmen, mainly because of those pearls.
Oh, that pearling industry. It was the backbone of Dubai's economy, wasn't it? Until the 1930s, when something quite unfortunate happened.
Yes, the Great Depression, and then the innovation of cultured pearls from Japan. It was quite a double whammy for the pearl divers and traders here.
But you know what's fascinating, Lara? It's that resilience and ability to pivot that's virtually encoded in Dubai's DNA. From those pearls, they turned to trade, and let's be honest, struck oil, quite literally.
Oil, discovered in the late 1960s, which certainly kick-started Dubai's transformation. But it's incredible how they didn't just rely on it. This city had bigger dreams.
Speaking of dreams, let's chat about the father of Dubai, Sheikh Rashid bin Zayed Al Maktoum. He saw a vision for Dubai that looked well beyond oil, didn't he?
He really did. His investments in infrastructure during the mid-20th century laid down the foundations for the modern metropolis we see today. Port Rashid, Dubai International Airport, those were game changers.
And his son, Sheikh Mohammed, he took it even further. Talk about ambitious. Burj Al Arab, Palm Islands, Dubai Metro.
For our listeners who love a dash of drama, how about the creek extension story, Luca?
Oh, absolutely. Legend has it, when the creek was being extended, the engineers said it couldn't be done. Sheikh Rashid asked if they'd like to be thrown into the sea. Talk about motivation.
A story that's well embedded in Dubai folklore now. Has a bit of an, if you want something done right, do it yourself energy, doesn't it?
That it does. But isn't it amazing, Lara, how Dubai's history isn't just about the physical city? It's about that unyielding spirit, that drive to evolve and enhance.
Truly. And speaking of enhancement, let's touch on the role of trade. The discovery of oil certainly brought wealth, but the aim was to create a diverse economy. Dubai Creek's been a hub for merchants for centuries now.
And they came from all over, India, Iran, many parts of Africa. Today, Dubai's vibrant trade scene is reflected in those lively souks, selling gold, textiles, spices.
While we're at it, let's not forget the historic spice trade. It was like a fragrant route to prosperity and cross-cultural interaction.
Have you ever thought about this, Lara? That once upon a time, a sack of black pepper could have been worth its weight in gold here in Dubai.
It puts our modern economy in perspective, doesn't it?
It does. And now, from the ground to groundbreaking, let's dig into archaeology. Did you know some of the relics found at Souks al-Hadid date back to the Iron Age?
Fascinating stuff. Jewelry, weapons, pottery. It's like a window into ancient lives. I always half expect to touch one of the artifacts and get transported back in time.
If only, Lara, if only. Though the mysteriousness of Dubai's past is part of its allure, uncovering the stories behind these artifacts is just the beginning.
From pearling to oil, from trade to tourism, Dubai's history is a carousel of innovation and ambition.
And to think, in less than a century, it's gone from a coastal village to the city of gold.
Absolutely, Luca. Dubai's story is a testament to vision and the indefatigable human spirit.
Speaking of indefatigable spirit, let's prepare our listeners for what's next. Do you think they're ready, Lara?
I sure hope so. Coming up, we've got all the expert travel tips you'll need for navigating Dubai like a pro. Trust us, you won't want to miss out on Lara's must-know insights and let's call them Luca's legendary travel hacks.
Oh, they are legendary indeed. Stay tuned for that, fellow adventurers.
Expert travel tips coming your way in this next segment of Travel with Lara and Luca. We've traversed Dubai's hottest spots, And now it's time for us to share the secrets that'll make your trip not just good, but great.
Absolutely. And let's start with the best times to visit. Lara, I know you've experienced Dubai in all its seasonal glory, so when do you say is the prime time for our listeners to head over?
Oh, prime time is definitely between November and March. The weather's just perfect for all the outdoor activities. Sunny but not scorching. You get those lovely breezy evenings too. What's your best month?
It's got to be December for me. The city buzzes with excitement, and there's that slight chill in the air. Plus, you've got the National Day celebrations and the Dubai Shopping Festival.
Now that's a festival that tests the limits of your wallet and your walking shoes.
Speaking of walking, one thing every traveler needs to know is how to get around the city. Lara, I think you've become quite the pro at navigating Dubai's transportation system, haven't you?
Oh, I certainly have. It's all about the metro, Luca. Fast, efficient, and it gets you to all the main attractions. Of course, there's always taxis. Pretty affordable and everywhere.
Just imagine me with a taxi driver's cap right now. Where to, ma'am?
Laughs, I'd say, to the closest shawarma stand, please, and step on it.
You got it, but only if you give our listeners the lowdown on this magnificent project called Dubai Land while I'm driving.
Dubai Land is this ongoing mega project set to be twice the size of Disney World. It's got theme parks, ecotourism zones, and even sports venues. It's so big you'll need multiple trips just to see it all.
And just think, the next time we come here, they might have even more wild rides or an undersea park or something.
Exactly. And while we're on the topic of tips, let's talk etiquette. Dubai is a melting pot, but it also has its customs and traditions that visitors should respect.
True that. For starters, dress modestly, especially when visiting religious sites. No tank tops or short shorts. And PDA? Keep that just for your eyes, folks. Right, Lara?
Oh, spot on, Luca. And it's always good to ask before taking photos of people. Now, let's not forget language. Knowing a few Arabic phrases can go a long way. Saying shukran, which means thank you, always brings out smiles.
But here's the best tip. Just be open and respectful, and you'll have the best time in Dubai.
Couldn't agree more. But Luca, we did promise them some proper travel wisdom. Any advice on bargain hunting or finding those special deals in Dubai?
Ah, indeed we did. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are your friends for cinema deals. Yup, they've got discounted tickets. And for shopping enthusiasts, January and July are when the biggest sales hit the malls.
Oh, and let's not forget about the Entertainer app. Buy one, get one free offers on food, activities, and more. It can save you a ton.
Now here's one for the adventure seekers. Want to escape the city's hustle and bustle? Head to the desert. But Lara, when would you say is the ideal time for a desert safari?
Perfect timing is just before sunset. You catch the golden hour, perfect for photos, and then you have that majestic desert sunset moment as well.
Majestic is the word. Seeing the dunes change color as the sun dips. Man, that's magical.
It sure is. And you know, all these tips and tricks we're giving you, they come from years of trial and error, right, Luca? How many times have you gotten lost again?
Hey now, getting lost is just my way of discovering new places. That's a tip in itself. Don't be afraid to wander off the beaten path. That's how you find the real gems.
True. And speaking of gems, guess what we have coming up in the next segment?
Oh, I think our listeners will love what's next. Think mystical journeys through time and culture, and the perfect blend of relaxation and excitement.
That's right. We're venturing out for some incredible side excursions around Dubai. Stay tuned and get ready for tales that might just inspire your next big adventure.
And with that, it's time to wrap up our segment on expert travel tips. Remember, the secret to the best trip is planning, respecting the culture, and of course, a dash of spontaneity.
We can't wait to share more, so don't go anywhere. Here come the side excursions. The sprawling city of Dubai has captivated us once again. But let's not forget the wonders that lie just beyond the city's shimmering shores. It's side excursion time.
You read my mind, Lara. I can hardly stay put knowing there's so much more to explore. First stop, Abu Dhabi.
Oh, the capital. What a majestic mix of modernity and tradition. My visit to the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque was simply spiritual. White marble, gold chandeliers, and the world's largest hand-knotted carpet. It takes your breath away.
Not to mention the Louvre Abu Dhabi. Art and architecture in a perfect dance, sunbeams playing through that mesmerizing dome. But I'll raise you one, Ferrari World, where I screamed my heart out on the world's fastest roller coaster, Formula Rossa.
A thrill seeker, are we? Your screams must have been heard from Dubai. But let's switch gears from art and speed to something a bit more sandy.
Ah, you're painting a picture of dune bashing in the desert, aren't you?
Spot on. You've not seen the desert until you've watched the sunset paint the dunes 100 different shades of red. And the evening, a banquet under the stars, with the gentle rhythm of the oud guiding the night.
My kind of evening, but I recall my dune bashing left me with more sand in places I never knew existed.
It's a full experience treatment, shall we say. All right, moving on from the desert to the mountains, we're heading to Hatta now.
Hatta, the emerald in the rough. It gave me an entirely new perspective on the Emirates. I mean, kayaking on the Hatta Dam, the still water against rugged mountains, it was unexpected.
Hatta's landscape really is poetry in nature. I felt a tranquility there that the city's buzz doesn't allow for. Did you manage to stay dry in that kayak?
Well, let's just say I got to test the waters up close and personal. A tip for our listeners, kayaking is a wet sport, no matter what anyone tells you.
Noted. From accidental dips to purposeful plunges, let's dive into the cultural deep end in Al Ain.
The Garden City, it's like stepping back in time. The palace museums, those endless palm plantations. You feel the city's heart here, rooted deep within its history.
That's beautifully put, Luca. Did you find your way to the Al Ain oasis?
You bet. Walking through the cool, shaded walkways, surrounded by date palms, it was a kind of serenity that made me forget the sun was right overhead.
Our listeners will need a week just for these excursions. There's an abundance of history and culture just a short ride from Dubai's high-rises and bustling souks.
And we haven't even mentioned the wildlife yet. My encounter at Al Ain Zoo wasn't exactly planned.
Oh, do tell.
Let's just say a certain mischievous monkey had a field day with my sunglasses. Note to self, don't wear reflective accessories around kleptomaniac animals.
Life lessons from Luca, folks. But don't let that deter you. Add Al Ain to your adventure list. Now, before we sign off on today's side excursions, let's drop a gentle tease of what's coming up next.
A historian's dream and a curious traveler's delight will be stepping back time's arrow and delving into the rich and varied history of Dubai.
Pearls, prosperity, and the path to becoming a world-renowned metropolis. But that's for the next segment.
Stay tuned for an epic recount of bygone days and transformational tales. Dubai has stories to tell, and we're here to share them. Well, as the sun sets on our Dubai expedition, I have to say it's been a day filled with awe, amusement, and appetite. What a whirlwind tour, right, Lara?
A whirlwind indeed, Luca. From the vertiginous heights of the Burj Khalifa to the fragrant corridors of the Spice Souk, we've covered some serious sand. But here we are at the end of our Dubai dialogue, our final thoughts. It's bittersweet, isn't it?
Absolutely, Lara. Dubai's story is one of dreams materialized, of reaching for the sky, quite literally, and it's been an absolute pleasure sharing those tales and our personal takes on them with our listeners.
I can't help but look back at the discussions we've had today, each sight and flavor infused with its own distinct character. Dubai is an anthology of experiences, each chapter as unexpected and rich as the last.
Speaking of chapters, any particular page from today you'd bookmark as your favorite moment?
Oh, that's like asking me to pick my favorite star in the sky. But if I must, I'll say that recounting our adventures in the cultural enclaves where the city's soul truly thrives was a highlight for me. And you, Luca?
For me, it's the part about weird facts. I love sharing those quirky tidbits that make our listeners do a double take. Dubai doesn't do ordinary, and neither do we.
And nor should anyone. Travel, after all, is about the extraordinary. It's about those moments that take our breath away, that expand our horizons, and that giggle the mind.
Giggle the mind. I like that. Dubai certainly has its ways of tickling the fancy. How about the cuisine, though? Our culinary cruise through Dubai's diverse dining scene still has my mouth watering.
The taste buds have had quite the ride. The street food, those sumptuous sweets, the cross-continental buffet, it makes you realize you don't just visit Dubai, you experience it, one bite at a time.
And let's not forget our travel tips. I think we managed to give our listeners something to chew on there as well, from the respectful ribbing on cultural etiquette to those hot hacks on beating the heat.
True that. And our dunes of discourse couldn't have been complete without dipping our toes into Dubai's sands of time. Fascinating history segments, those were.
No doubt, the echoes of the past set the tone for the symphony that is modern Dubai. But the future, that's where the fresh notes are played. That's where Dubai is setting the pace, setting it fast.
So fast, we can barely keep up. Speaking of keeping up, our dear listeners have fantasy feats to chase after this, don't they? We've armed them with enough travel ammunition to conquer their own explorations.
Yes, we have. Listeners, consider this your travel trove, your passkey to a city that's an enigma wrapped in extravagance, waiting for you to unravel its mysteries.
Exactly. And if today's escapades have inspired you to pack your bags, then we'll consider our mission accomplished. Dubai is not just a place you check off your list. It's a place that leaves a check mark on you.
Well said. And I want to leave our audience with just one more nugget of nomadic wisdom. No matter where you travel, make sure to carry stories as souvenirs. They're the lightest to pack and the richest to share.
As we pack up our proverbial microphone and set our sights on new horizons, we'll be dreaming up the next set of wondrous, wayfaring yarns for you to unravel with us.
And with that, it's time for us to bid a fond farewell to the City of Gold. So until our next journey together, keep exploring, keep laughing, and keep that curiosity alive.
And remember, travel is the only thing you buy that makes you richer. So go ahead, invest in memories, in experiences, in joy.
Next time on Travel with Lara and Luca, we'll be taking you to another corner of the globe that's ripe for discovery and rich with tales.
It's goodbye for now, but there's always another adventure around the corner. Same chatty vibes, same fun facts, and all the exploration your wanderlust can handle.
Stay tuned, stay whimsical, and as always, travel smart, travel hard, travel far. Until then,
it's Lara
and Luca, wishing you captivating travels and spellbinding tales. See you next time.